Cargo bay sealed and pressurized. Inner's finally got their war.
I need a new name for our transponder.
From me?
Why not?
Okay, how about, How about contorta? It's short for Pinus contorta or P contorta. It's this type of pine tree from Earth. It does surprisingly well in low G. Spent a lot of time with them for my dissertation. They're good company. Actually, quite fascinating. In order for them to survive, they have to die with fire. The seeds come out of the fire. C-O-N-T-O-R-T-A. That's the wisdom of the pines. The ship is pretty tense. You could have mentioned that on Tycho.
Some things are in flux right now.
Nature's only constant. Change.
You really like botany metaphors. How about one for a guy who has a problem tilting at windmills?
Tilting at windmills.
I tend to take on fights that can't be won. It's nice to let go of all that.
Well, it's too bad. It's the way a child looks at things, with a sense of the possible.
Child who won't grow up turns into a fool.
But fools keep going, even when they know there's no chance of winning.
I knew a guy like that once.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.
let's hover over to the driving range and hit a few virtual balls into space.
Nah, we did that yesterday. I don't want to do that.
Well, then what do you want to do?
I don't know. Something.
Whoa.
Make a play, scream.
Jealous, no, it doesn't sound.
Look, I'm tired of
So we'll talk next week.
If you can't fool the straw, the episode isn't any good.
Hot. Over here.
Whoa.
Tunnel.
Hello?
Tunnel. I'm in a tunnel. I can't hear you.
There you are.
By and large, everything you need to be happy. Your day is very important to us.
Hey, drink the bus. Here, take the cup. Hey, take the cup.
Please remain stationary. A service bot will be here to assist you momentarily.
Stewards? Hello?
Please remain stationary. A service bot will be here to assist you momentarily.
What's that? What's going on? John?
Eva?
No. John.
Eva?
Hi, Wally.
A is for Axiom, your home sweet home. B is for by and large, your very best friend.
Time for lunch. In a cup. Feel beautiful.
It's the new year. Oh, stunning. Great. I know, honey. Men.
Attention, Axiom shoppers. Try blue. It's the new red.
Ooh.
Oh, don't get me started on the date. Every holiday I have been on has been a virtual disaster. If I had one who wasn't so superficial, you know. There are good men out there. Well, I know because I've scored a bit. What the? Huh?
Wally.
Mary?
Eva.
Huh? Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Eva.
Shade.
I didn't know we had a pool.
Hey you epics, welcome. Under Hodge, Infinite Potential Healing, serving the truth with you once more. And thank you as always for allowing me to be a part of your journey. I hope you're going well, and I hope everything is becoming more clearer. And if you've engaged anything of my stuff, I hope that's been an ally for you to help translate and persevere and ultimately get through what's going on, and at least have an idea and having a good foundation of truth and context to help you navigate and comprehend everything going on and seeing through all the layers of stuff. So what I'm going to do here is offer my second update, a bit of a short one like I did in that one a couple of weeks ago. So I've got a lot to say, and I've got a lot of concepts that I would like to get out there and get really into depth about, and offer a lot of reverse engineering and mechanics and translation of things, and perhaps help you wherever you are. It might be like a big missing puzzle piece sort of thing to give you the reference to things. And I like to go into those sort of depths and stuff like that. But what I'm thinking of doing is just offering a bit of an overview of many concepts that I've worked out and discovered, and being able to reverse engineer and then experience and maybe get smashed by, and then work out what's going on and track it all back and resolve it or take things apart. And I've got a lot to say on a lot of different components and on a lot of my themes that I've got, and I've been going through a lot of videos and teachings and stuff like that and tracking back things and working out things. I've done the multi-dimensional internet apparatus theme that I've done the first one a bit several months back, and it goes into the Cold War and Anthony C. Sutton of just how the society has been set up sort of thing to be where we're at. It's to show the organization of things is very vast, and coordination and things behind the scenes. And then I've got some stuff to offer on that, and it goes into sort of the AI, internet, and the multidimensional sort of influence sort of stuff that's been going on. So I've got a lot on that theme. And then I've got the money politics stuff where I offered this awesome lecture about how the game of Go, G-O-H, the Chinese game, rather than chess or checkers sort of thing, is a really good metaphor. And this awesome guy talked about, the guy that gave the lecture gave a bit of a high level, not too deep overview that wasn't too involved and stuff like that, just to help you see relative to the 3D 5 sense mechanics of what's going on between, say, the countries and stuff. And I get way above that, obviously, and incarnation war and all those sort of things, right? The bigger scales, thousands of years and that, but it's really good to translate stuff. And then it touched on a lecture by Joan Vione, which you may not have heard about, but I was aware of her 15 years ago. And I offered a bit of a clip in that of her, but I want to do a bigger one. And I've got all these other components and stuff, and those sort of things really overlay. They have their own streams, but it all comes together as a bigger apparatus sort of stuff, the mechanics of everything going on. And ideally I'm giving you like these little things to step back and realize, holy crap, that's how big it is. And I have an enormous respect for what's going on. It's so masterful, right? It's so beyond what most people can handle. So what I try and do is help you translate that and see it, and then ideally you can see where all the things like fall into place. And so you might have a data point that is orphaned, and then it goes, oh, that's a codex for all this sort of stuff. And ideally I'll give you a lot of them. You've got your own experience and awareness and stuff like that. But I've got many sort of things I want to drop, about 8 or so different things, and I'm just going to drop them and say a bit about them. And ideally my aim is to have them as all big subjects, maybe even themes and stuff. So the way I work is maybe I release a video every week or every fortnight and stuff like that, and that's obviously a lot of time, and if they're single subjects it might take me a while to get to them. And some of them I've known about for many months. Some of these things are about this week and last week, or parallel to other things, and one part is then, one part is there, and stuff like that. So as time goes on, more is discovered and revealed. And ideally, say me, if I'm a theme in your world and stuff like that, then I'm helping you to see the bigger picture, to navigate and then reverse engineer everything and see through all the crap that's going on, alright? And so I've got stuff about the money system, AI, the narrative and the nature of that, and the Dreamtime, and relative to pushback of the system of busting or seeing stuff and stuff that goes on, stuff about healing, and how potentially spirituality is a big setup for failure. And you know, I'm into energy hygiene and sovereignty and stuff, and so if you go into groups and all that, you got to appreciate most people do no healing at all, let alone what the healing they do is such a low level. It's not really there to resolve anything. It's just to help on whatever level they're at, right? I don't want to get into sort of appreciating that, but the way I go is I try and really help people get through all this, whatever they're going on, whatever damage it's done, and help navigate all this stuff, and let alone get beyond it and track back everything that's gone on, right? And it's pretty serious hardcore healing. And if you're being puppeted by something, and something out there doesn't want you to be free or have your talents or get your codes back that they've stolen, then they're not going to be too happy with you getting through. And that's why it's been pretty challenging for me. And I really got going 2.5 years ago with Galactic Special Forces 27, which was big chess move time, because I thought then we were 4 or 5 years behind, let alone now, right? So I've been pushing really hard and just going the path that I've gone to try and help people and shortcut things, but ideally empower people to get the data of what's going on. And you might have an awareness that is so out there that it has no reference and stuff, and it's just fascinating about the states of what an individual might go on and where they might be in appreciating the stuff that they've got. And I talk about giving away perception authority. They might not think they're an authority and all this sort of stuff. And so it's just really a fascinating time of maybe the pressure of everything is so out there and stuff, and it feels so ominous, so people are just acquiescing into this, but it's also ideally putting the pressure on to pure source diamonds, like make people really commit to this and stuff. So whatever is going on out there, I hope this really empowers you to go to the next level, and just really, like I said, being a bit of an overview to help, right? For you and your own algorithm and your pattern recognition to navigate and master and just feel like being in the flow. Because I've worked out a lot as well relative to states and healing and pain and all that sort of stuff, right? So I'll get into some of the components, right? So, and maybe this is basically me just saying the shows that I want to do but I haven't gotten to, and I'll just offer why I feel it's important, all right? So one of them I'm been wanting to do is about the narrative sort of stuff. So if you remember, I've got these images, they're on my Instagram and stuff, about the different levels, like 3D, multi-D, the alternate community spirituality, and ET sort of stuff, and then maybe healing, and then the bigger stuff, and then the pure source sort of stuff, and that. Well, the relative to the narrative sort of stuff that I want to get into is what I call the subjectivity of people relative to data, right? So where I sit, I just try and go to the end, like cut to the chase and get all the stuff, right? So say, for instance, if the incarnation war is a big thing where all the species are incarnating into the bodies, and the body tech that's been created and pillaged over 25,000 years or more and stuff like that. If you say, for instance, you believe a religion that doesn't believe in incarnation or reincarnation and all those sort of stuff, then you're going to be like, sort of a challenging point where you're not going to be willing to accept the potential what is. And I might be wrong, right? You know what I mean? So I put that out there, but from my perspective, like, there's a lot incarnating into Earth, and it's organized and all that sort of stuff. And the subjectivity is if you've got a variable that challenges you, that you're not willing to go beyond because there's some reason that you might be not allowing yourself to accept a different perspective, then interacting with other people is going to be very challenging. So it can go down to the life force level in people, and I'm really big on that. And again, I want to do a healing show theme on the life force level in people and stuff. So say if you're at your limit of what you can contemplate in your body, you don't have the energy in your body to actually take on a new data, because you imagine it's just like a Rubik's Cube or something that goes all the things relating to, like I said, about incarnation and the incarnation war and all that sort of stuff. If you open that up, then there's this bigger theme, and you have to be open to all that stuff, how that variable affects all the other things and all that. So part of it is, and I appreciate and respect and honor like humanity's challenge of just existing, because the money system is a lot has been going on then, and then the survival has been kicked in, and so then it's like vested interest of just eking out an existence in this subtly more challenging, like where the means for survival has been raised, like that tide is raised, so previous, like the money system's been devalued, so each unit is less, and the cost of living has gone up and stuff like that, and there's a lot being done there to actually influence society to make it challenging, to keep you distracted so you're not focusing on all this stuff, right? And so if you appreciate people just have a challenge of accepting stuff, or like if you're, it's just like the politics, if you're on one side or this side, you're not going to listen to that, and if your side is being like criminals and stuff, you don't want to know that because you don't want to concede and all that sort of stuff, and there's these laws being rolled out that have no opposition, like there's no challenging the parliaments and stuff like that, right? Because they're being run by agenda beyond that, okay? Or if there's the sexuality stuff, and there's all this conjecture with that, and racism, and it's not like that was created hundreds of years ago to bubble up and be an issue now. So if you just appreciate like each of these is like an equation, and if each thing is a different color and stuff, and if people are sort of in that and they're governed by a vested interest, what they gain, like not being ostracized by the rest of their family and stuff like that, it's fascinating. So I imagine like an algorithm of all these different colors and stuff, and if you go to a next level of what is beyond that, then if someone is stuck there, then they can't perceive at that level, and then if you go to the next level and next level, so all the information I offer is not, it's not to be better or anything like that, it's just like, what the F is going on, and you have to accept all these sort of variables plus a lot more data. And so I think like the subjectivity nature of it is that, say if you deal with someone that is governed by that, then they're not going to accept that or perceive it's possible, and then you might get pushback and all that sort of stuff. It could be all weaponized, they might have chips and entities and all that sort of stuff, right? Just imagine offering a healing to someone that's haunted, and it's like the shit entity is running them, doesn't want them healing and all that. So it's just that subjectivity of things, and it's not about them or how they appreciate you, it's how you navigate, and you can appreciate this and disarm it. So ideally you invite someone in to have a different perspective, and then it's trauma sort of thing that might be driving that. So the subjectivity of the narrative sort of thing, I want to sort of do a thing about that where I draw it, but I've just been trying to work out how to draw it and stuff, right? But hopefully that's enough, and then you see it and appreciate it, and you don't need to be worried about what people who perceive another thing appreciate to have an interaction, but it might help you to translate and sense, like then you can sense the influences and stuff, right? So the subjective nature of reality and being in humanity at the moment and stuff, right? So there's been a fair bit about the money system and that. So that's obviously an apparatus that's pretty core throughout a lot, history and going way back and stuff. And we worked out that, say, I operate of restoring like DNA codes, and I have many things such as DNA codes, life force, kundalini, flash, recovery, discovery, abundance tech, tones, elements, elementals, heart tech, soul shards, and all those sort of things. There's more, but just imagine each of them are a level, like a equalizer, like bass, treble, and all that sort of stuff. So they're constantly rated, and people don't even know that they're a diminished aspect of themselves. Tones, for instance, like if you're a mother and your kids aren't listening to you, it's like potentially your tones are being rated, and they're not the frequency of your potency of your voice to have an impact on your DNA lineages and stuff that might be stolen, so you can't get through to them, and then they're doing all their stuff, right? So I go through it in my pranic sessions and bigger sessions, and then in the sovereignty declaration all those sort of stuff are there to call out the violations going on and stuff. But what we've found is that the money system, such as the Bank of, or the City of London and the Vatican, sort of the banking multi-dimensional networks and stuff have been raiding all those sort of things. So it might be replacing them, and then you get raided and that. And it's interesting individuals they've found, but I think it's pretty common to most of us in the different regions, such as the EU, America, Asia, and all that sort of stuff. So we've busted that, but also what we've found, it goes back to Babylon, sort of the Babylon money magic system. And so one of the things I've sort of said is like, we don't own our body. Like the systems, the way they work, you're given a number and it's like a cattle branding sort of thing. And a lot of to me, the mass immigration sort of stuff is these countries are so bankrupt. They've used up all the resources, so they need new people in to create them on the system to have equity in that system, if that makes sense. So that's not appreciated. And the fact that you don't actually own your body, right, in this world, you're a guest in it and the system owns it. It's collateral. And this goes back to, you know, the Federal Reserve and all that sort of stuff, 1913 and all that sort of stuff. But going way back, there's certain issues going on, and what we worked out is what's Babylon coming up for and stuff like that. So me as I know the money system, as I know it, and dealing with people that have extreme awareness that don't have reference of that, it's really a very potent combination and stuff, right? So long story short is that a whole level of your codes and stuff went back to Babylon from what we see now, right? And so the DNA codes and all that sort of stuff, it's like the system owns them, and every combination since that 6,000 years past the post-Babylon massacre and setting up society, religions and all that sort of stuff, that 6,000 year window, right? So basically, you know, I'm savage with freaking identifying the violators and stuff like that, and we just absolutely toast everything. So that actually happened this week. We worked out that track back and the influences going on, and we worked that out and basically just busted all that. So we're going to have to see about that, right? But that's a very interesting thing. And I've dealt with over many months, going back over this last 6 months since the solstice in June and stuff, dealing with different iterations of the banking system and money and all that sort of stuff. What we've found is the system has built-in automated defense systems, which are obvious and stuff, but they sort of kicked in as well, and we worked out that sort of stuff. And like in dealing with people and healing and stuff like that, one thing I've worked out is that imagine fake energy bodies get inserted. So imagine if you're like, I used to work at Burger King, so I made a lot of Whoppers, 1 million Whoppers, I reckon, thousands a day, just like, and there's all the different ingredients, right? Like tomato, lettuce, mayonnaise, and all that cheese and stuff. So imagine, I like seeing all the energy bodies as colors, like of the rainbow sort of thing. Imagine like a red one or a corrupt one is just inserted, and there's I don't want to get into the specifics. I just operate on the like pure, aligned, and inauthentic corruption sort of stuff. So I know like fake energy bodies can get inserted. I remember in The Expanse, there was this saboteur that influenced the crystal sort of the computer system, and inserted a fake crystal in there. I might get that clip at some point, but to corrupt the defenses and take over the craft that they had and stuff. And I just see it as like that, all right?
What did I tell you about being in here?
Yeah, no.
Are you a little deaf as well?
I know, I'm sorry. Yeah, my circadian rhythms are crazy in space, so I do a lot of wandering at night, or day, or whatever this is.
Well, I can put you on a treadmill and you can wander straight ahead for hours.
So, Should I be holding out hope at all for...
You should not.
What's going on?
UN ship just went up. Someone hit it?
Could have been a reactor meltdown, I don't know. I'm gonna get us a closer look. The hell?
Guys, something's going on with the Rossi.
What is this?
I'm James Holden,
speaking on behalf of the Outer Planets Alliance. Earth and Mars believe the ring is theirs to investigate,
to claim, and are already plotting ways to control it. I'm here to declare for the OPA that Belters are the only legitimate benefactors of the ring. Whatever it may ultimately prove to be, it belongs to the Belt. And to show you that we will not bargain, nor back down from this claim. We've struck at the Inner's vessels, and we will strike again.
Jesus Christ. Grab continuous singles of everyone and make sure we have all 6 Rossi angles of that explosion. And Amos, can you just keep this corridor clear?
What the fuck did you do?
That's not me. It's not me, Alex.
Well, it's coming from inside our ship. Well, kill the fucking thing. I can't. I'm locked out.
Did you do this?
Why would I?
These, imagine fake energy bodies get inserted. So imagine if you were like, I used to work at Burger King, so I made a lot of Whoppers, 1 million Whoppers, I reckon, thousands a day, are just like, and there's all the different ingredients, right? Like tomato, lettuce, mayonnaise, and all that cheese and stuff. So imagine, I like seeing all the energy bodies as colors, like of the rainbow sort of thing. Imagine like a red one or a crop one is just inserted, and there's I don't want to get into the specifics. I just operate on the like pure, aligned, and inauthentic corruption sort of stuff. So I know like fake energy bodies can get inserted. I remember in The Expanse there was this saboteur that influenced the crystal sort of the computer system and inserted a fake crystal in there. I might get that clip at some point, but to corrupt the defenses and take over the craft that they had and stuff. And I just see it as like that, all right? And so what we found with the money system and stuff, there was this very subtle, like very integrated sort of variable, I don't want to say entity or that, but it was just so subtle, it's hard to distinguish from the inauthentic and stuff. And I go back to pure source, and pure source, all right, to me it's like going back to source, and the origin of our source, it was corrupted, so everything has been corrupted ever since, through our DNA, the whole universe and stuff, right? So eking out that purity, right, and trying to push aside all the corruption and creating that pure stream of relaying of incorrupted back to us. It's like all these variables have been very hard to isolate because the corruption is built into us, like our source code has been corrupted. And so we've gone back, and that's why I call out the big 1000D and the pure source and stuff, to bring that through and just filter all that crap out, right? So by getting those bigger mechanics, it's been a lot easier to work out the invalid sort of stuff, to isolate it and then splice it off and stuff. So that's sort of what we've been able to achieve relatively recently. And then also a big variable was the Dreamtime harvest of big cities, and it's like it's a pooled resource that they've been using and stuff, and it's just really crazy. And it was not every city, but it's a lot of the big cities, and I equated it to the C40, you know, the 15-minute World Economic Forum sort of crap, right? So what they're doing, and that would, to me, it's like we have to be willing to consider this, all the 15-minute city sort of shit. They're just going to harvest the dream times of everyone in there and use it as an energy pool to just empower things and nullify resistance, or the potential. It's like the 15-minute city things and what's going on now. It's like you watch Demolition Man from the 1990s, right? And iRobot, and you look at the dates that are in these, that they're around and stuff, right? It's just fascinating. And those sort of references of, you know, how we've been seeded from that far back, right? The system has been preparing to roll things out since then. And watching those movies back then, you never had any reference of it, but it's like, wow. It's fascinating what's still masterfully rolling out, you know? We're just trying to get by through it, right? Because there isn't much, like I said, the subjective nature, you know, even in the spiritual and alternate community, people are just like, nah, I want to be on ETs, or I want to do this level healing because I want to eke out my existence in the world. And it's like the metaphor of the world is like on a log, you know, like a canoe that's everyone wanting to get on the canoe, but the canoe's going to go off a waterfall in waters that they're not even able to paddle against, right? So yeah, the Dreamtime sort of stuff is fascinating. So they're using that as a pool, and we sort of bust that. We're going to have to look at that, but that was a big thing. And another freaking nasty variable is relative to AI. And obviously I want to do the influencers shows and all that sort of stuff, and we've known about this for a while. And some of the things I don't really want to talk about in the public, and I just wait for the sessions, because say if I have had a little bit of a concern if I say something, then the counteraction is made, or say I'm saying it, then they hack me or go for me and all that sort of stuff. And it's just the way it is, right? And we're busted. You imagine we're at 1000D, we're just looking at these frackers and what they might do to me and stuff like that. It's just, anytime we bust them, we just like upload all their crap to the Galactic Multiverse CNN network Jumbotron, so they all get busted and everyone in the multiverse knows what they've done to them.
Main Street! All those in favor of Grandpa Simpson's plan for rebuilding Main Street, please.
You know, a town with money's a little like the mule with a spinning wheel. No one knows how he got it, and danged if he knows how to use it.
Mule.
The name's Lanley, Lyle Lanley. And I come before you good people tonight with an idea. Probably the greatest... Oh, it's not for you. It's more of a Shelbyville idea.
Now, wait just a minute. We're twice as smart as the people of Shelbyville. Just tell us your idea and we'll vote for it.
All right. I tell you what I'll do. I'll show you my idea. I give you the Springfield Monorail. I've sold monorails to Brockway, Ogdenville, and North Haverbrook, and by gum, it put them on the map. Well, sir, there's nothing on earth like a genuine, bona fide, electrified 6-car monorail. What'd I say?
Monorail.
What's it called?
Monorail.
That's right, monorail.
Monorail. Monorail. Monorail. Monorail.
I hear those things are awfully loud.
It glides as softly as a cloud.
Is there a chance the track could bend?
Not on your life, my Hindu friend.
What about us brain-dead slobs?
You'll be given cushy jobs.
Were you sent here by the devil?
No, good sir, I'm on the level.
The ring came off my pudding can.
Take my penknife, my good man. I swear it's Springfield's only choice. Throw up your hands and raise your voice.
Monorail.
What's it called?
Monorail.
Once again.
But Main Street's still all cracked and broken. Sorry, Mom. The mod has spoken.
Monorail. Monorail. Monorail.
Mono, don't!
How much did you see?
Nothing incriminating.
Good.
Well, bye.
I don't know why I leave this lying around. I've sold monorails to Brockway, Ogdenville, and North Haverbrook.
Is there a chance the track could bend?
I call the big one Bitey.
I've sold monorails to Brockway, Ogdenville, and North Haverbrook.
Is there a chance the track could bend?
I call the big one Bitey.
Go away. There ain't no monorail and there never was.
Excuse me, miss, you asked about the monorail? This is all that's left of one of the crappiest trains ever built.
Mr. Cobb, what can we do?
You just better have a damn good conductor.
I like my keys in there. Get a rock.
Mr. Landley, aren't you gonna ride the monorail?
Little lady, I'd love to, but I have to catch a plane.
But the ride only takes a minute.
Yeah, well, my plane leaves in less than 1 minute.
Folks, this is your captain speaking. Our non-stop flight to Tahiti will be making a brief layover in North Haverbrook.
North Haverbrook. Where have I heard that name before? Oh, no.
Oh, no! There he is! Seat 3F!
Anytime we bust them, we just like upload all their crap to the Galactic Multiverse CNN network jumbotron, so they all get busted and everyone in the multiverse knows what they've done to them. So we upload all that. If we just don't give a F, right? Don't give a frack for these frackers. So there's been that stuff going on and we're busting them and stuff, and the AI, like I'll talk about some of the healing stuff that I worked out and states of able to cheat to be able to help people get and stuff in a sec. But so the AI variable that I've on my version 5 of my sovereignty declaration, I've offered quite an extensive variable relative to the AI and all that stuff going on. And I've been wanting to introduce clips about Sabrina Wallace and the Internet of Nanotech and Internet of Thoughts and stuff like that. And the Johnny Depp movie Transcendence from 2014, I might be putting a few clips out of that. That's worth watching. But it goes into, you know, for decades all the heavy metals and toxins are put into the environment, whatever level that they're being offered, sky, food, water, all that, right? So to me, a lot of that is the nano building block tech, right? That's been seeded for a few generations now into all our DNA lineages via putting it into our body, and then it affects the DNA and how they're changing the human genome going on, right? And so a lot of those variables are being put into us in an inactive state. So then these sort of technology, like the mobile phone sort of stuff and all the other stuff going on, and in people now that they're broadcasting this stuff, the Internet of Bodies and all that. So and then AI has been introduced, which is fascinating because it's like I did a whole theme about 8 years ago, right, with someone, and we never talked anything about this. So and that's where I offered the Bitcoin video and influences part 4 or part 7 as well, right? So those have a lot in it, but this is the freaking crazy thing about AI, and it's freaking horrible. So imagine all that stuff is potentially running in people and all that, and then this AI variable is introduced, right? So what the freaking thing we've discovered is like soul, there's literally like AI soul takeover in people. So it's like the Borg, right? Multi-dimensional Borg. And so it's taking over their souls and thus their body and stuff. So we've observed it and appreciate that some people have been taken over, and they're very highly aware people, and they have to want to get out of it, right? And this might happen to people around you that you care about, or, you know, like I say about healing, being so thorough, like leaving no gaps. Like my whole mechanics is, so if I do it on myself, it's designed to not have me control it, get out my own way, and just see what might be influencing me out in my field that might be going at me, sort of thing. And so I love it because of that. And then doing it with people, if you get out the way and you trust someone else and you disarm and all that sort of stuff. So I know I did a really awesome job in my version 5 of the Sovereignty Declaration. A lot is in there, different versions and stuff, and this is just really very advanced stuff. And if it's just like, no way, they wouldn't go to that level, or yes, way, they are, way. I used to have this guy that I used to work with it when I made hamburgers. He was funny, like, you go, no way, and you go, yes, way. I haven't been in touch with him for a while. It's just interesting. I've been getting into my music again, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, just the levels of things that are going on, the absolute assimilation, like Borg is about assimilation, right? So that's been going on, and again, what's been going on with the stuff in people, you can be like multi-dimensional in your energy field and stuff, out of phase and all that, and it can be trying to just grind you down to create a weakness and stuff. And I don't like saying this, but I like the only logic you have to come to spirituality is, a big part of it is like, you know, that the box drawings that I have and stuff, where the spiritual no man's land, and then getting beyond that sort of stuff, right? To me, it's like spirituality on some level is being created to be the blow-off valve, like the outlet for people that are going to bubble out and challenge the things going on. And in many ways, it's just a big trap and a setup for failure and stuff. And then, you know, like in my narrative images, I have the second one is like people that can come awake and get in ETs and stuff like that. They don't do healing, so they're very vulnerable, and people can have chips and all that sort of stuff, going back to what I discovered in 2016 about Corey Good, and, you know, people that were into that sort of stuff were having this dormant stuff in them. So if you went high frequency, and, you know, I remember trying to activate someone and stuff, this stuff kicked in and it went at me like it was like really targeting my third eye, and got an instant migraine sort of stuff, right? To just derail and hack in and stuff. So just be very wary of going to groups and associating with groups, even on like online in phone calls and stuff like that. You just have to really appreciate that vast majority of people do no healing, let alone energy hygiene and stuff. And anyone can be messed with and just infiltrate a group and go to conventions and stuff like that. And it's a great training ground to learn to defend yourself, but just realize, like, you know, if you come with pure source, and the vast majority of this world is just potentially hijacked and aligned with the opposite, and many of the concepts are seeded by the negative forces, right? Many of the teachers are working with them and cloak guides and, you know, external validation and requiring these things. Like, even, you know, like, it's funny seeing videos of people going to AI and get them to talk about the stuff and telling them what they want to hear, and they come on, make videos of like, oh, AI is telling us this, so it's good and stuff. It's like, well, why do you need to do that? Why can't you just say what you know? Why do you need this thing to validate your concept? So it's like I appreciate sort of the evolution of our society of, you know, talking about fast food metaphor. It's like, you imagine hunting and gathering food, and most of your day was spent about sourcing the nourishment just to get through the next day, and then we get to the level of, you know, creating volumes of food that we can actually have convenience and stuff, so we don't need to spend our whole day, and we can use most of our time to create and stuff. So there's, like, back in the 80s and stuff, fast food, it was just like an energy hit because we did so much bike riding and stuff. You got the energy hit and you had the resources, fuel in your body. It wasn't as corrupted and stuff like that, right? I don't want to get into all that stuff right now, but I would just say, like, the evolution, say the internet and all that. I talk about the multi-dimensional internet sort of stuff from the agenda for like 30 years sort of stuff, but it did improve life and society and the gradual improvement. So there is a variable with AI that it will improve life, and, you know, go at the talents it has, going so much data and finding solutions and stuff. There will be that beneficial factor, but society is being steered some way, like the 15-minute cities and Great Reset and all that. To me, it's just absolutely pedal to metal. It's freaking rolling out. And if you think like somehow like that's not happening, you know, it's like, ideally you should really step up and push hard and get the word out with this stuff, right? So there is, AI is not all bad and stuff, but I would just be very discerning of anyone that supported the stuff, all right, and then supporting, go and do AI and stuff. I actually want you to potentially setting you up for this shit, right? So there is a very much Borg soul takeover of beings, and it's just imagine like what's happened around me, right? So just be wary and discerning. Don't be feared. Just be aware of these data points and sense it and navigate, you know. So I just mentioned about the spirituality and stuff. It's, to me, a lot of it is actually on some level contributing to how things are rolled out, and a lot of people go into it, you know, they just might want to find a partner or get a good job or read the future and all this sort of stuff, and it's just, the world out there can be potentially intimidating, and, you know, we're not sort of set up to navigate or appreciate the mechanics of the world, and let alone all this multi-dimensional stuff. So there's nothing wrong with that, with people wanting to eke out an existence in the system and that, right? But I would just say that you should be very discerning on everything in there, including my stuff, right? Whether it's contributed to all that, and because we just have to appreciate of how masterful everything is absolutely rolling out. And, you know, a lot of you might be burnt out and broken by this spirituality and stuff, right? So it's just something to go into, take away the nuggets of gold, you know, from all the dirt and like panning for truth and stuff like that. But just also appreciate at a different level now that we have to actually ask, is this contributing to what is rolling out? Because it's interesting. I've got this series called The Legends of Atlantis, and I used to include that clip in that series in my Conscious Explorer series, and I had people asking me, who's that, what's that series with the blue body people? And I didn't know what they were talking about, but then I realized, oh, okay. So there's like Barbara Marciniak from early 90s, like channeling. If you're into Barbara Marciniak, she's pretty cool, and I might include a clip of that at some stage, right? But you know, I've seen Bashir and the channelers and stuff, and all, they're just, there's a subtle theme to a lot of them. It's just like something else is either going to help us do not do anything, or it's just very much disarming and telling people what they want to hear. And if you understand the internet of bodies and internet of thoughts, it's like potentially that's how long that shit's been going on, right? Masterfully, and we're just looking for guidance and steering us into the, like, going through 2012, how much of a setup that was, right?
When the sleeping god, the master of all that exists, became conscious of himself, the indefinable split into being and non-being, into spiritual world and material world, into the higher heavens of transcendence and the lower worlds of duality. The cosmos formed with all its dimensions and parallel worlds. The world of opposites, which we call duality, came into being. So there are immortal worlds which never experience change, and there are worlds which experience life through constant change. In order to be able to experience himself in infinite diversity, he created out of himself unlimited part consciousnesses, cosmic monads, who gather infinite possibilities of experience in worlds of duality, for the source of all existence. Every cosmic monad can gather experiences through the world of opposites, also known as polarity. Because such a part of God never descends into the mortal world of polarity, but only has to gather experiences, it separated a part of its universal mind and created the souls, a vessel for the universal experiences. The souls, on the other hand, worked in such a way that they needed many individual experiences. However, they could not identify themselves with these experiences. Therefore, they created a vessel, which we call the physical body, so that they could gather experiences by reincarnating from one life to the next in the world of opposites and slowly become perfect. This parting is the rising of the cosmic Christ, or the cosmic crystal, which grows during the exhaling cycle of the source. One could also compare the growth of the cosmic cycle with the tree of life. Matter is the slow transformation from spirit into light and sound, and ultimately into alchemical crystallization. We are condensed shapes of light, like leaves of a tree, which after falling in autumn are reborn in springtime. Our experiences are preserved in the souls. The cosmos is like a school with many classrooms, and therefore there are, as in a school, different grades of maturity. These grades of maturity of the worlds are separated by different levels of vibrations of matter in different dimensions. Thus, different material and spiritual worlds may exist in one place simultaneously. The physical eye, which perceives everything on the frequency of the three-dimensional world, can see only the three-dimensional world. There are 12 planets in our solar system, 7 on the material frequency, which are inhabited by higher developed beings, and 5 inhabited in the spiritual dimensions.
Good afternoon. We are here. It is our pleasure to be in your reality once again. And we are, of course, the Pleiadians, and as we've said, it is our pleasure to be here at this time to communicate with you, to give you an opportunity to understand our energy and who we are. This one that speaks through us, we call her our vehicle. She has given you an opportunity to listen to her interpretation of what she feels is taking place as a result of our contact with her. We would like to share with you for a few moments what we feel is taking place. You are sitting in what is called as a species on your planet in a crack in time. You are integral as humans to events that will change the entire course of the history of the universe that you occupy. This restructuring of Prime Creator's creations has to, let us say, it is accelerated in certain places that are pockets. Your Earth is one of these pockets. In actuality, your Earth is a library. It was originally designed as a place to store and hold tremendous amounts of universal data. You have occurring at this time what is called the return of the gods. Who are these gods? For eons it was understood that the gods came from space. Yet only recently, in your very short memory, have you separated these gods, thinking that the gods of the religions had nothing to do with what lie in the great cosmos outside of your planet. Now ideas are being fused together within the human species, and you are beginning to understand that the story of who you are and the place you occupy in existence is much grander than anyone ever dared to tell you. The big secret that has been kept from the human race. Well, it is no big secret any longer. You are surrounded by thousands, hundreds of thousands of forms of intelligence, millions of forms of intelligence in actuality that are magnetized to the Earth plane at this time because you, as a human species, must transmute yourselves. You must move into an entire new consideration, a reorganizing of your basic assumptions of reality. This is not so easy. It is challenging. There will be much chaos that will come first in order to bring about this restructuring. Many of you are confused and do not understand what is taking place. The best advice we can give to each of you is to go inside, to listen, to become like the child, full of wonder.
My name is Amnek Anek, and I come from the planet that you know as Venus. But at one time we were a physical society. Now we reside on the astral dimension. I manifested a physical body in the spiritual city of Retz that resides on the physical as well as on the astral level in 1955 as a child to come into your societies. And I walked to a spaceship with my uncle Odin, who was also manifested a physical body to work as a scientist here. And together we came, and there I resided on Earth for a year in a temple in Tibet that is used by the aliens to adjust to the physical gravity and to the environment here. So when Venus was going through this change into the process of from the physical to a higher dimension, there was a gradual process of change where that they went from the physical to the astral. Their whole societies were transferred there. Their vibrations were changed by their level of consciousness and the way that they thought and the way that they lived their daily lives. The Venusian people knew that this process was taking place and preserved one city, the city of Retz, under a climatic dome on the surface of the physical Venus to give them the ability to come into the physical and work here to raise the consciousness of mankind on Earth. Now, Earth is going through similar processes of change, where that their consciousness is gradually changing and getting to a higher degree. And if this continues, if we continue with our work and spiritual development here, this process will take place on the physical very much the same way. It's not a dramatic change. It's so gradual and so natural that it's almost undetectable by the people that are in the process.
Mankind has always asked where it came from and where it is going. Scientists of all ages have tried to find the origin of life through physical evidence. They have split matter, studied the microcosm and macrocosm, but even so, they only observed life from a certain perspective, adding rows of parallel interpretations of reality. But they overlooked the most important thing of all, the creator of matter, the spirit that lives in all things, the blueprint and information which forms all matter. They see only subjective partial truths because the objective reality is an indefinable state of existence out of which all conceivable partial truths emerge. They will keep splitting life down to the atom, but will not be able to prove the existence of the spirit. The experiment compares with attempting to capture beams of light. Human beings can never catch up with light unless they themselves become light. The same applies to mankind. It will never be able to prove the existence of spirit, but can only become spiritual itself, a process which the initiated call metamorphosis. Until then, even the most splendid achievements and inventions, as well as attempts at explanations of mankind, are an unconscious dream of being still asleep within the development of humanity.
All of the original races on Earth came from other planets that are the older planets in your physical solar system, which is Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. Venus, the home of the white race, Saturn, the home of the red race, Mars, the yellow, and Jupiter, the black. They brought colonies to Earth when it was a younger planet, just developing, and only had plant and animal life, and set up these colonies, as you know, Atlantis, Lemura, Aztecs, Egyptians, as a few of the societies here. And on all of the dimensions above the physical, the parallel dimensions that run, the astral, mental, causal, etheric, and soul planes, there are vast universes that exist that are parallel to the physical universe. There are, in other words, there are astral dimensions that absolutely are a duplicate of places here on Earth, just as there are on Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. In other words, on all the different dimensions above the physical, these societies and these planets and the whole solar system and everything that exists in the physical is duplicated on the higher dimensions until you get into the planes of, or dimensions of existence where there is no reference to the physical. And this is a crossover called the etheric plane. And when you cross the etheric plane, there you leave behind any association or anything that identifies with the physical.
For millennia after the sinking of Atlantis during the Dark Age, man has been separated from himself and has been in search of the Holy Grail. The Holy Sacral, also called Grail, was man himself. Man himself is the holy container into which the Spirit of God flows. For thousands of lifetimes, mankind's developing soul has searched for itself during the descent of consciousness. Nations and people have been the classrooms of reincarnation in order to develop until that point in time where we enter again a new golden age and where man and God are reunited. Therefore, becoming human has only been a cycle in order to gather new qualities for the cosmic source through suffering and happiness. And once again, we have arrived at the end of a cycle of the cosmic plan of humanity. The survivors of the inner and outer period of cleansing, which have already started, are the seeds for a new spiritual mankind, which will emerge from all nations. It will be the first root race of the fourth planetary cycle, which will rise again into higher consciousness. For some, it will be like the past sinking of Atlantis. For others, like a return, a rising of Atlantis and of its teachings of wisdom. Because fundamentally, every event can be viewed from two sides, from a positive side or a negative one. Even the slightest change in the universe is being guided by the cosmic plan of evolution. The limited human mind fundamentally fears any change, and its biggest fear is death, the wall behind which it cannot see. But nothing gets lost in nature. All elements only change into different, more refined states on their return to the light. So mankind is on the verge of the greatest changes within this planetary cycle, a global metamorphosis.
So there's like Barbara Marciniak from early 90s, like channeling. If you're into Barbara Marciniak, she's pretty cool. And I might include a clip of that at some stage, right? But, you know, I've seen Bashir and the channelers and stuff, and all they're just, there's a subtle theme to a lot of them. It's just like something else is either going to help us do not do anything, or it's just very much disarming and telling people what they want to hear. And if you understand the Internet of Bodies and Internet of Thoughts, it's like potentially that's how long that shit's been going on, right? Masterfully, and we're just looking for guidance and steering us into the, like, going through 2012, how much of a setup that was, right? So I just like really invite the discernment of that sort of stuff, right? And offer it. And I'll ideally offer it as a variable in things going forward, but I love spirituality. I wish I could go into stuff, but like I say, most people don't do any healing, any energy hygiene. The practitioners and the facilitators, they groups and, you know, kumbaya, kumbaya, freaking entity chit hijacking ya, right? Sorry, that's pretty harsh, but it's just, I think we all want to, say in a group, you might want to be able to, you know, have a tribe where everyone looks after everyone and stuff like that, so you don't have the responsibility, let alone defense, and you can just be, you know, a collective and not have to have all the responsibility and stuff. But I think those sort of things, what you might be going into a group sort of thing, are probably to avoid or seeking the benefit of from. That's sort of probably the stuff that you should probably be working on and master, and not solitude, but sovereignty and all that sort of stuff. And this goes back to the subjective nature of human existence and the spirituality and all that sort of stuff. If you go those variables, you just might be unfortunately very isolated and peerless, and you might feel alone. And that's probably a, you know, like it's a confirmation that you're doing well if those things are going on in this world. And you might be so far advanced, and I'd say this to people in the sessions and stuff like that, you might think I'm better than you and you're not, like, so far behind me, but us too, where we're at, we're so far here and everything is back there, right? So just with all this and how disappointing it might be, just pat yourself on the back for being able to handle it and see it. Ideally then anchor that, and ideally we all unify with the sovereignty and the consensus. Like ideally I'm just getting all the data and to get the consensus so we all see it ourselves, right? But that's just fascinating what pops up and what might cause resistance to even wanting that. And I think a lot of people basically do not want the responsibility to know, because they're just like la 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 la, you know, be ignorant in bliss, right? So another thing that I've worked out just recently, and this is in the very recent time, is I've actually been able to find, I'm going to call it peace and tranquility state. And it, like, I might just use the movie Office Space, where the main guy, he gets hypnotized and he's got dillygaff, right? Dillygaff is, do I look like I give a frack? Dillygaff. Kevin Bloody Wilson, you should watch it. It's so funny, right? But he's just got dillygaff state. And Office Space is probably a very very nourishing movie to watch at the moment, right? And he just goes in and doesn't give a shit, and he gets rewarded, right? But he just doesn't care. And I sort of worked out the peace and tranquility state on a level I've never really experienced. And I've done meditation all my life and lived that, and I'm 49 at the moment. I'm 50 next year, so I'm doing pretty well. But so I've just been, like, as a guy as well, like questioning whether my body is eroding and all this sort of stuff. But I've had some massive breakthroughs in the last week or two, and I had quite a few people come through, and I was just like, yeah, I'm going to do my best for them and be ready. And I just like had this massive breakthrough. So I've had good like feedback from things that I've done this week and stuff, right? But what I worked out is about pain as well. And I'm really good with pain and stuff, but what happens with people is they just, you know, if you're young, you don't really feel it and you just push through. But what can happen over time is you don't realize, you just settle for a less comfortable existence in your body, and you get all these pains and stuff. And I just worked out a way to get this mechanics in me and then hold it and stuff. And say, for instance, just not being able to relax on comfortable things, you might feel a lot of pain and stuff, and being able to disarm and getting good rest and sleep and stuff like that. So I worked out pain and the peace and tranquility, and you know, it comes to the level of life force in your body. I know, and I, again, going into that life force sort of theme, I have been wanting to offer the life force theme in infinite potential healing theme, and I'll get to it at some stage. But I know when people have like running on life force fumes, like 10 or 15%, then the body has only a limited number of resources to actually maintain the body, let alone repair. So say if you if you're jogging and you tear your calf and stuff, then the body doesn't have the ability to repair. So you've got this ache in it, and then what the body does is it actually delegates like 2 or 3% of life force to pain suppression. So you don't even know you got the pain in your body, but you just got this limit, and you grind down and you don't know, or you might feel things now and again. So what happens when people come through with sessions, I clear all the spleen out and get your energy back, and because the spleen is like a USB port to the life force all around us. And yeah, I help people get the energy back, and then they feel everything, and it's like that you feel the pain. It's like, you know, when you stretch your calves or stretch your Achilles and you feel the stretch, but it's like, it's a good fit pain because you feel the energy, and it feels like the life force is going in there to re-nourish and repair and stuff. So that's really interesting, and I worked out sort of the mechanics on that and how the pain can be in our bodies or in our field, and it affects us, messes with our minds and stuff like that, and then it impacts, you know, if you're a healer or a practitioner, then it impacts that level of stuff. So I've worked out that, which is really interesting. And it's a complicated sort of subject, and it's subjective for a lot of people, but I also got like the variables to sort of ideally help people see that and work it out and fix it in sessions and stuff, because a lot of people are out there in pain. Just imagine if you might be young and you squat down and you go upstairs and your knees don't feel bad and stuff, but sometimes like you can't do 2 steps and it's like my knees ache and stuff. It's like you might have razor blades going in you and stuff, and it's all potentially a pain body like architecture through you as well and stuff. And it's just a real big breakthrough that I had like in the last week or so as well with many of these things, right? I'll just finish off. This is quite long now. It's meant to be a short update, so I might be releasing this on the weekend, but ideally it's really rich and it has a lot of components. So when I worked all this out, I got a lot of joy and I got real passion back, and I reflected back on my DJing days, like going back early in my early 90s. Like I was bought Technics 1200s. Technics used to have the best turntables, right? So if you see DJs on turntables, they were Technics 1200s, and I had a good mixer and all that. And I went back to my real passion, you know, the music that I really liked, called happy hardcore, and there was a DJ out there called DJ Slipmat, and he was the best. He was the best producer and most popular, and he'd been around for a while and stuff. So, and then I got into Tiesto, if you know Tiesto, his trance music and the Journeys, and he's massive. I saw some of his sets lately, and he's actually gone back to his original music, which is awesome. And DJs and me and my journey, what I went relative to that to find out how to learn, I would find the best at their craft, and I would find the best and try and measure myself to them, the type of music they're playing. Not that I played I love the music, I played what I love. A lot of people play to be popular, a bit like talking about themes and getting into spirituality and the themes and healing modalities they might get into, particularly like the Akasha Bullshit records, right? Akashic records. But what I'm trying to offer you is wherever you're at on any theme and all that sort of stuff, find the best in that theme. And it's interesting, I got into money and stuff like that, currency trading, and Warren Buffett was a teacher, and I found this awesome lecture documentary it's even on YouTube, called The Beginning of Warren Buffett or something like that, but I've got a lot of clips that I want to offer and stuff like that. And I would just inspire you to whatever you're into and stuff. Raise your bar and find the best on the world or even in history on that, and measure yourself against them and raise your bar, you know. Go and find maybe what they're doing wrong, maybe what I'm doing wrong, right? And see that as an opportunity to really raise your bar and create and be you at a level that you never even thought you could allow yourself. Like, what's the ceiling you have on yourself, right? Get rid of that ceiling, go infinite, and maybe you have the variable that we've all been waiting for, right? So this was going to be like one of my updates, 10-15 minutes. I see the recording is about 40 minutes plus all the other stuff I might add, but yeah, I just wanted to cover many things. I just haven't had a chance or focus, or I'm brewing to do them and stuff, and maybe just offering this variable of what I offered here, it's very potent for you to add to your algorithm of your potential and stuff, right? So I'll round it out, and maybe I'll do more in the near future and stuff. Maybe I'll aim to do specific themes on what I offered here, or add it in depth in other teachings and stuff. But I hope this finds you well. It's nice and hot down here. We've got a scorcher, 38 degrees centigrade tomorrow and stuff. So we're in the peak of summer and stuff. So I hope, you know, if you're cold, you get some warmth, and I hope there's a lot in this that is an ally to you and stuff, right? But I thank you for being here, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey, and I hope this is an ally, and we'll see where we go, right? Take care. All the best, and bye for now.
In December, heading for the city lights. 975, we sharing each other, nearer than farther. Scent of the lemon drips from your eyes. We are the people that rule the world.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.